Good evening. Welcome in Daily UPSC editorial audio program. Chess with bombs. Times of India. Make Mandir feel good. Make money. Best Asia gets too close for comfort. The Economic Times. Now the full editorial. Chess with bombs. The Times of India. A short attempt to explain the infernally complex and deadly chessboard of West Asia. Tensions in West Asia turned up a notch with Pakistan attacking alleged Baluch separatists inside Iran. This comes after Iran earlier this week attacked Sunni militant group Jais al-Adl in Pakistan's Balochistan. Tehran also launched missile strike against what it says was an Israeli espionage center in Iraqi Kurdistan and Islamic State terror bases in Syria. These may lead to a larger regional conflagration. Balochistan to Levant. The latest strikes show that the entire region from Pakistan's border through the Arabian Sea up till Gaza is now a zone of various degrees of conflict. What started with the Israel-Hamas war has spread with the Houthi attack on Red Sea shipping and low-level transnational strikes by the principal actors. The stand of each principal actor has at least two strategic guns pointing at the other: Israel at Iran through Azerbaijan and Iraqi Kurdistan, Iran at Israel through Hamas and Hezbollah, Iran at Saudi Arabia through Iraqi militias and Houthis, and Saudi Arabia at Iran through Pakistan and Taliban. Most of these proxies have been activated since the Gaza war. Free fall or Iran-linked Iraqi militias have triggered US based in Iraq and Syria over 130 times in the past 3 months. US has hit back at these Iran proxies just as it is now targeting Houthis in Yemen. Meanwhile, Israel was blamed by Iran of assassinating a top IRGC commander, Sayyid Razi Mousavi, in Syria. Tehran earlier this month also faced the Kerman bombings, which were claimed by IS and killed more than 100, plus an attack in its city of Resk in December killed 12 and was claimed by Pakistan-based Jais al-Adl. Therefore, Iran's latest strikes appears to continue the tit-for-tat pattern. Uh, Ayatollahs under pressure. It is possible that Tehran was under pressure to act. The massive anti-hijab protest in Iran mean the regime has to satisfy its conservative supporters, and those supporters would have wanted Tehran to directly hit Israel, US, Saudi proxies. Iran, however, has avoided direct confrontation with US or Israel, but its action will boost its own regional proxies in the axis of resistance. Pakistan equation. Pakistan too would not want to escalate matters. It strikes in Iranian territory somewhat mirror what it did after India's Balakot strike in 2019 to shore up the image of Pakistani army. Interestingly, India has expressed understanding of Iran's strike against Pakistan, but given the complex West Asian chessboard, New Delhi should play carefully. Make mandirs feel good, make money. View Hindu cultural legacy as a liability, impose economic costs. Today's approach symbolizes by Ayodhya recognizes heritage as investment magnet for building quality city infra. Sanjeev Sanyal, member PMEAC. Ram Janmabhoomi Temple in Ayodhya is all set to be dedicated on January 22. Religious and cultural significance of this event is enough to mark it out as a major event in the long history of Indian civilization. It also reflects a new approach of thinking about our cultural legacy as an economic asset rather than as a burden that we need to drag around merely because of sentimental attachment. Mega dissing of heritage in the first decade after independence, PM Nehru diverted much of the country's scarce resource to build capital-intensive projects such as mega dams and public sector behemoths. These were dubbed as the Temple of Modern India. The messaging was deliberately designed to suggest that modern India was leaving behind wasteful spending on Hindu temples and shifting to more productive investments. With Chandigarh memo, when it was decided to build his new city, architect Le Corbusier was specifically told to design it without any reference to India's past. Even the British colonial government has taken the trouble to incorporate indigenous architectural feature in their buildings, but not newly independent India. Indeed, so-called modernist building codes would enforce the drab concrete box architecture that came to dominate our cities. With Hindu rate of growth, it was quite clear by the 70s that the experiment in Nehruvian socialism was a failure. This failure was recast by establishment economist Raj Khanna as the Hindu rate of growth. The message again was clear: India, with its Hindu roots, has failed Nehru, and not the other way around. Liberalization brings heritage revival. The attitude towards cultural assets began to change uh, in the 90s, coinciding with economic liberalization. Changes in hotel classification regulations meant that old places and forts left to crumble over the previous half a century began to be converted into heritage hotels. However, it was still about revival and preservation of pre-existing cultural assets. Varanasi showcases heritage. The Kashi Vishwanath corridor in Varanasi was an experiment in shifting the game from preservation to enhancement. Thus, a pre-existing temple complex was enhanced by revisiting its environment in a completely different way and complementing it with modern amenities. The result have been an ambiguous success, with the number of visitors to the site jumping 10 times between 2019 and 2023. In turn, this has generated jobs and incomes in sectors such as hotels, restaurants, travels, religious services, boating, constructions, and so on. Ayodhya creates new heritage. Construction of a grand temple in Ayodhya goes beyond enhancement to effectively create a new cultural asset. Till recently, even practicing Hindu who may have visited Vaishnav Devi and Tirupati would rarely express a desire to visit Ayodhya. It was almost as if people did not want the actual place to disappoint the grand imagery from the epic that they carried in their head. This was clearly changed now, and it is not the old but the young who seem most authentic. New economic buzz, a brand new airport, and upgraded railway station, hotels of every grade, and a ring road are among the large number of investments, along with new attention being given to places like Gorakhpur, Varanasi, and Prayagraj. The spurt in investments in Ayodhya has brought a economic buzz to eastern and central UP. Ancient idea temples of ancient India acted as banks that financed infrastructure, commerce, and industry. By the medieval period, India's outsized clout in global supply chains were driven by corporatized guilds and large merchant fleets that in turn were financed by a network of temple banks. Plundering and destruction of these temples, therefore, was also an economic catastrophe. Assam to Amritsar. In recent years, state governments across India have woken up to the potential of their cultural assets. Assam is investing in a Kamakya temple corridor, MP in Mahakaleshwar temple in Ujjain, Odisha in Jagannath temple in Puri, and so on. The cleaned up corridor leading to Golden Temple in Amritsar has changed the whole experience. Pilgrimage tourism is not a new concept. What was change is India's unapologetic embracing of these assets. Thus, it turns out that the temples of 21st century India has actual temples. West Asia gets too close to comfort. The Economic Times. Iran conducted a missile attack on Pakistani soil on Wednesday. Pakistan conducted a missile attack on Iranian soil on Thursday. This counter-attack, ostensibly targeting local terror camps, poured fuel on an already cracking West Asian fire. That the Israel-Gaza conflict continues to be all one needs now is a now conflict, bringing as it does the configuration closer home. India needs to step up engagement to contain conflict and development consensus actions to tackle terrorism and act against countries that allow their territory to be used by terror groups. Following Iran's missile strike, India has categorically stated that the attack was a bilateral battle between Tehran and Islamabad, while reiterating its zero tolerance of terrorism and the right of countries to take actions in self-defense. What has become clear in the complexity of the conflicts in West Asia and its potential to become a wildfire. This is also Iran-Pakistan Shia-Sunni differences coming out in open. Iran may be propelled by anti-Western sentiments, but it is unclear how opening another theater of conflict would benefit its cause. China, which brokered the brokered the historic peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia, is missing from any engagement. No, nor has Beijing said anything so far to the Tutu Meme. Current conflicts in West Asia and the US Britain's focus on pursuing Iran's with China. It forces the US to take its eyes off the Indo-Pacific theater. India has made its position clear, but the need now is to impress its Western partners to consider the web of complexities and interests that support terror activities and outfits in the region. Easy classification: Iran is bad, Pakistan is useful. Still, being the default position won't yield results. Thank you.